Welcome one and welcome all to this pre-recorded stream of the Segovia show. This is going out to those of you on YouTube, Rumble, Gangjin World, X, and Twitch. Oh, and also some love over to my Substack followers. So today I'm going to be playing catch up on a ton of comments that I received over on the YouTube side of things. There are some comments I received on X. Unfortunately, the X comment system sucks. So I'm sorry if I missed those, but I got to talk about GrapheneOS. A lot of the stuff that's been happening with them lately, but more importantly, I actually missed talking about the possibility of a GrapheneOS phone. Who might be developing this? Have they announced it? We'll be getting to that. I got to address some stuff of the Brax device and Unplugged because you guys are talking about it in the comments over on YouTube. So stay tuned for that. And I also want to give you some quick updates. So let me start first off and foremost here. So if you haven't already checked it out, I've actually done my first live stream over on Parler's Play TV. If you're not following me on Parler, check out Play TV. I am over there and I tested out the live stream. I'm going to be doing more live streams over there, kind of like behind the scenes stuff. But I did poll those of you on YouTube because you're my biggest audience. YouTube has the worst plays for my lives. Okay. Most of you are checking it out after they've gone live. So every time that happens, I do my best to timestamp the stream whenever I get a chance because those of you that don't know how live works, when you're actually live, not everybody's tuning in at the time. And the whole idea of live is to engage with a live audience. So for those of you on YouTube that have been posting comments about why am I dragging my feet to get to the point, it's because I've been waiting for the followers to chime in so I can go over it with them and have active live feedback. Otherwise, they've missed that point. But for those of you watching on the replay, that's why I try to timestamp them. So whether you're on mobile or you're on the web, you should be able to see below where you want to skip to. So forgive me if you might have missed that. It's usually in the description or in the first comment on the YouTube video. It works also on Rumble. I try to do the same there and Gangjin World too, because I value your time. I appreciate you guys watching, but for those of you that have been leaving very negative remarks about that, it's timestamped. So please check for the timestamps where applicable. Where they're not applicable, have at it. Let me have it, okay? But outside of that, I did poll you guys, and the majority of you, at least 70% of you, said keep doing the live streams to YouTube. So that means even if you're not watching live, you're still catching it on the replay, and I appreciate that. So I will keep doing that. But as for live and why live matters, live is to engage with you. I know I don't have a fixed schedule whenever I do lives. That's just the nature of what I do for a living. I can't just schedule them and do them, but if I can for the new year, I will, so that way you can know when I'm going to be doing these things. But I'm going to be utilizing the community posts more to make announcements. For those social media platforms that allow live streaming, I try to do the same over there as well, where I try to give heads up that it's coming, and most of the time it does do a placeholder for any lives that I've already scheduled. So I'll try to get to that because I do want to do more lives, and most likely as the technology develops, I want to do more over on Parler's Play TV as the host and broadcasting from there. So stay tuned for all of that. Now, with respects to tech, I have a review that I filmed. I have just not been able to get any editing done on it. That's how busy I've been. So my long-awaited review is more of an overview, is of the Remarkable Paper Pro. Okay, not the smaller one that they eventually released, but the big one. And there's a reason for why it's taking quite a bit, which I'll get into when you see the review. So hopefully I can still get that out maybe in the next few days. Thanksgiving's coming up. Maybe I might have some time. If I do, you'll see it. If not, well, just keep an eye out for it. And I've done interviews, a lot of interviews. You might have noticed a lot of heavy interview stuff, especially during the month of November, because I try to give attention to our veteran community and bring awareness to issues that you're probably not aware of. But I had two very important interviews that I hope you checked out already. That's Amanda Rutledge over at Tours of Duty, and former Chief of Operations and Vice President of Special Government Programs at Blackwater, Enrique Rick Prado. So those are two interviews that I recommend you check out. It has been disappointing to see YouTube turn down any a type of boost that I've tried to make for the Rick interview, and that's as disappointing as that is. I did turn over to X, and X had picked up the slack, which is why I'm grateful to be across many different platforms, because if you missed it on one, chances are someone else will be picking it up. So over here on X, this is my my post, they all went up around the same time. So here's the interview with Rick. This one it's got at least 12,400 views, but at least 63,000 impressions, which is what matters to me. That means it got eyeballs. Whereas over here on YouTube, I don't think it's cracked 100 views as I record this, but at least the clip of that is getting way more plays, hitting almost 1,000 here on YouTube. So the thing is, it happens. It's a hit or miss when it comes to dealing with what's their names here on YouTube. But if you haven't checked that out, please by all means do so. And if you have, I appreciate you would share it. And if you haven't liked it already, please give it a like. I'd appreciate that. Okay, so let me stop sharing this. Before I proceed, this isn't normally something that I do, but yeah, I gotta show some love to a really good product. You might have heard me talk about it if you follow me on the socials. This is Haha Hot Sauce. So I interviewed the comedian that makes this hot sauce. His name is Dave Yates. He's gonna be on the upcoming interview. Great discussion. This is something that you definitely must check out, and I have it behind over my shoulder here, because go to hahahotsauce.com, or for those of you watching, you can see this the streamer at the bottom telling you to hahahotsauce.com, so you can get your own. The ingredients on this are orange, pear, apple cider vinegar, garlic, onion, olive oil, sea salt, tomatoes, and Carolina Reaper. But from on a heat scale from 1 to 10, like he told me, a 6 or a 7. So I'm gonna say what he says, because that's pretty much the case, and it's a really, really freaking good hot sauce. It's ruined hot sauces for me. So Dave, that's your fault, man. That's why I'm always buying them in bulk, and I do give some away to friends of mine, because I'm spreading the hot sauce gospel. So check it out at hahahotsauce.com. So that's a shout out to Dave, and that interview is incoming. So stay tuned for that one. Now, stuff that I wanted to get to were comments. I'm going to talk about the Brax 3 phone, unplugged stuff, because that's what you get to talk about in the comments. I will be addressing some stuff that's occurred over on the GrapheneOS side, both good and bad. That's something that it's interesting to see that it looks like a government is coming after them. So if you didn't know about this, then we're going to go over it together. But first and foremost, I'm going to go over this because fellow YouTuber Laura Malvoyant, she had just unboxed her Pebble Core 2 Duo. She told me she was going to get it, and she had a chance to unbox it. So I figured, I think a lot of you will be interested to see how the unboxing experience will look like for this new iteration of Pebble. I am waiting for the steel version. The steel variant was supposed to be shipping in December. It looks like in small batches it would be, but it's looking more like February might be a more realistic time frame for the actual release of the steel for more mass. So we'll see. Let me put my headphones on, and let me start sharing this. Trying to share this tab with y'all. Okay. And let's bring it up. All right. So I don't know if you guys will hear the audio. I'm getting a connection saying that there's a connection to share screen audio that dropped, but well, let's see it anyway. Some things are too fun to stay in the past. USB-C. It looks just like the old one. A firmware update. Yeah. All right. Then that's it. I hit like on this. I don't know why YouTube sometimes takes away likes that I give. So I don't know what's up with that. But that is the experience in unboxing the Pebble. It really is minimalist, and I didn't see any paperwork in there. So Eric might have to look into that. If that was on purpose or if it was a slip, and because I think legally is required. Just thought I'd throw that out there. But I am interested in the steel version of this watch. It is what is it? He did say there might be some imperfections on the steel body. So while I'm not excited about that because it's kind of costly for the watch, it'll be interesting to see it when it actually finally launches. For those of you that have it, I'll be looking for people doing unboxing videos and stuff like that. So I'll see about that. Okay. So before I get to Brax 3 and Unplugged, because those involve the comments, so I'll go over with the comments with you, I need to talk about GrapheneOS. All right, so this comes from Android Police, and this is one of the more recent articles that I'm going to be going over. Let's see here. This is titled GrapheneOS's big hardware debut is more than a year away. And depending on where you look at this, some people are asking the question, is it worth waiting for, or just buy a Google Pixel now and just sideload GrapheneOS onto it? Let's see. Let's see what's being said by Android Police. We know GrapheneOS, for those of you that are not in the know, GrapheneOS is a privacy-focused Android fork. Think of it as like a sophisticated custom ROM developed solely to protect your privacy, including those from zero-day vulnerabilities and other threat factors. So let me skip over. In an interview with YouTube, David Bombal, GrapheneOS community manager, Metropole X, revealed that the first Graphene OS supported devices could arrive in Q4 of 2026 or early 2027. Yikes. That's over a year now. Given the uncertainties involved, though, there's always the possibility that the release timeline could further slip. Yeah, I totally agree with that. There's just too many variables, and anybody that's follow any campaign or try to get your own hardware out, a lot of different things can happen. Oh, that's heating up. It's still unclear which OEM Graphene OS is working with. Like I did hear that Graphene said they're working with the large OEM hardware manufacturer. It's a big brand name. Some people have speculated it might be OnePlus, and based on what OnePlus recently released, making their OS Oxygen OS look more along the lines of an iOS device, I doubt they might be doing that. But it wouldn't surprise me if they partner up with Nothing, but Nothing isn't considered a big one. So we'll see about that. I would have tossed my head and say maybe HTC might be one for consideration, but who knows? Because they did do third party manufacturing for a time. The team behind the privacy focused ROM has so far only confirmed that they partner with a major OEM and will release devices featuring a flagship Snapdragon SoC for best security and support time. These phones will launch in multiple countries and will be priced similarly to Pixels. Okay. The Graphene OS team has already confirmed that their top tier OEM won't launch a new lineup of devices with support for their ROM. Instead, it would feature a future version of a phone already on sale, say like the Galaxy S27 or S28. What? Hold on, let me read that again. Has already confirmed that this top tier OEM won't launch a new lineup of devices with support for their ROM. Instead, it would be a future version of a phone already on sale. So who is so you're saying that we can actually check out the hardware soon, just not running graphene. So I wonder if that means if you do get it, if you'll be able to flash it to a graphene OS. Um, and it's not a Pixel. Given its Pixel exclusivity, you would think Graphene OS must already be compatible with the Pixel 10. Yet months after launch, the Pixel 10 remains unsupported. Yes, I know this has been a question some of you are still asking in the comments. Isn't it better to just do this instead of getting one of those other privacy-focused OEM devices that are available out there that I'm going to highlight here in a moment? And I tell them, well, technically you can. You just got to know that the oldest one, the newest version, would be the Pixel 9. The team has provided an update on this front as well. It is currently prioritizing the stable rollout of Android 16 QPR1. It has already seeded the first non-experimental Android 16 QPR1 based build with several notable changes. Following this, the team will integrate the monthly security patches while also working on adding support for the Pixel 10 family. If anything, that means this indicates the first Graphene OS builds for the Pixel 10 should arrive in the next few weeks. Okay, that's good news. Google will soon push Android 16 QPR2, but if it delays releasing the source code to AOSP as it did with QPR1, it could take a while before Graphene OS can rebase its ROM. That has been the drag. I saw when Graphene announced that they finally got the source code, but it's been a chore because now they're depending on Google, and if you don't have control over your OS, as you don't have the binary trees for your hardware, then this will take considerably longer, and it doesn't look like Pixels are a viability for Graphene here on out if they're going to have control over what they do. So we'll see. We'll see what ultimately happens. Let me open the X post that's being referenced here by Android Police. This is supposed to be the X post from GrapheneOS. If it populates, let me see. Then I'll share it. Okay. All right, here we go. GrapheneOS, they have a thread. They always do this. They post a very lengthy thread, so I haven't seen this. This November 17 releases of GrapheneOS based on Android 16 QPR1 are available for public testing. These are highly experimental and aren't being pushed out via the alpha channel yet. Join our testing chat room if you have a spare device you can use for testing. So let me skip over to the one that was highlighted right here. Our focus is Android 16 QPR1, then Android 16 QPR1 security preview releases with all the current December 2025, January 26th, February 26th, and March 26th patches already and finally support for all 4 Pixel 10 models. We can find time to debunk another falsely marketed product too. Wait, what are you talking about? What falsely marketed product? Who's they? We are aware a small company which wanted to partner with us but was unable to meet our security requirements has been attacking GrapheneOS with misinformation and libel since November 12th. We'll write a detailed response to it once our port to Android 16 QPR1 is shipped to stable. They launched a device using a fork of Lineage OS without standard privacy and security patches or protection. Their launch announcement goes out of the way to attack GrapheneOS with inaccurate claims. They doubled down on it on several forums where they got a negative response. We have a serious OEM partnership with a large company actively working on implementing MTE and the rest of what we need. We need a proper secure device which can be refreshed yearly as a replacement for pixels. We're not going to abandon properly protecting users to provide it. Now this gives more context. Our focus is Android 16 QPR1. Let's get to the bottom. We can find time to debunk another falsely marketed product too. Companies marketing phones as being private while lacking basic privacy patches and protections clearly feel very threatened by GrapheneOS. Completely unprovoked attacks on us, including linking harassment content, is a bold launch strategy for a product asking people to trust it. Okay, this is news to me. I'm recording this pre-recorded live stream on November 24. I have a suspicion of who they might be referring to, and I'm going to go out of my way and say that it's Brax. Because Rob Braxman did talk about it. They recently launched their phone, pretty much. I don't know of any other privacy-focused OS manufacturer making such claims, but let me see. When they're talking about using a fork of Lineage OS, IODay OS is a fork of Lineage. Okay, so all the things are there, and this goes on even further. We're aware a small company which wanted to partner with us but was unable to meet our security requirements has been attacking GrapheneOS with misinformation and libel since November 12th. Let me chime in and say this much: that's not what you told them. If this is about Brax 3, if this is about Brax Technologies, that is not what you told Brax. Okay, it's important to have context here. Because Graphene, it looks like the way you're writing things out, and it looks like you did hire somebody to do it instead of having whoever used to write the post on X be attacking aggressively whenever anybody chimed in, and it was an innocuous comment. It was meant no harm, no foul, but you looked for reasons to hate on it. It looks like someone else is writing these posts now. And to say that we're aware of a small company which wanted to partner with us but was unable to meet our security requirements, that's not what you told them if you're talking about Brax Technologies. This is documented, and the attacks are very public, okay? That even went the same with Unplugged. And I know this is not about Unplugged because that's not what Unplugged did, okay? They're not using Lineage. All right, so furthermore, is that going to turn out to some kind of legal thing? I don't know, but it just seems like it. I'm just offering my comments to it. I don't like seeing this kind of crap happen. No one is saying they're threatened by GrapheneOS. If anything, we welcome GrapheneOS into the space, especially when we're not competing at the same price point. Okay, if you're going to be pricing your phones at the price of pixels, like $1,000, then man, first off, we need more premium hardware on the market. that gives some kind of peace of mind when it comes to, say, dust resistance and water resistance and impact resistance. We need some longevity, trusted track record. GrapheneOS team, regardless of what we might feel politically, has been some of the most reliable teams in trying to get things resolved. Hey, I credit to where credit's due. That's why GrapheneOS has talked about a lot about that. But, and here's the big fat but, which leads me to bring up this other thing that's happening at the same time against graphene. Graphene is experiencing something that has happened to any free speech platform that does not uh, that it feels like it threatens the power structures at play, and that I'm speaking about the European Union. That's why Rumble is banned from certain countries. They were banned from France. They were banned from Brazil. That's not Europe, but that's an idea that they're telling you. I think they're banned from Russia. At first, it seemed that Russia welcomed them because they had the Russian Times, RT News on there. But then, like, wait, why is there criticism of Russia allowed on it? So then Russia banned Rumble. But why France would do it, I don't know. But speaking of the French, now we go to Blue Sky. So we're not talking about, we're moving on to away from X. This is Blue Sky. No, this is not the post I'm looking for. This is the post I'm looking for. Blue Sky and X look very alike because Jack Dorsey was involved with this. So here, let me look for the original post. So over here, which is very fascinating. I don't speak French. I don't read French. So over here, so here's another. This is from November 20th. This is actually very much more recent. There's an older article I think I saw about this, but it just graphene does so many threads. I can't read all that. So over here, here's another French journalist participating in fear mongering about GrapheneOS. That article was not measured. It provided a platform to make both unsubstantiated and provably false claims about GrapheneOS while providing no opportunity to see and respond to those claims. Okay, let me see. What is this? Let's use a translator. Let's see. The translation. I'm opening on another thing. So I'm using Google Translate on another tab. It says one point that should raise concerns. I find the article in this French documentation. It mentions police fears of drift towards criminal use and represents the opposite response from GrapheneOS. But look at the latter's reaction. It would be unacceptable to raise such a question. I don't know if that's accurately translated, but that's what it's saying. I do know that Graphene was being reached out by authorities in France, and Graphene was forced to respond to such things. So recently, this is what Graphene was posting on. I know they mirror their post from Blue Sky to X, but I just found it easier to see it here on Blue Sky. It's like, we are in the process of our website and OS network services away from OVH due to threats from French law enforcement. We're going to add nodes in South America, India, Japan, and Australia as part of this. We also have 5 non-static content servers in Canada to move off OVH. So there's a lot of other things here. Someone asked, are they mostly just harassing you via the media or full on trying to sue you? And Graphene here says they made it pretty clear that they're going to come up with a rationale to take over our servers and arrest us. That's why we're moving the subset of our servers away and on a French-based provider away from it. We recommend others do the same if they have anything to do with open source or privacy. Yeah, this is crazy. So they're being targeted, just like what happened to X in Brazil, just like what happened to Rumble in different countries, particularly in Europe. So these kind of things are happening to anyone that tries to focus on privacy and security, because it's seen as a threat to the power structures that be, because they want to surveil everything. So now Graphene is in the crosshairs of this. They were being accused of being used by the cartels and other ones for privacy and security and whatever. So it'll be interesting to see. And now I'll straight up telling you, look, we need more competition in this space. Yes, this is all based on Android, and there's a comment over on YouTube that I'm going to be responding to why this is important and why they're wrong in their assessment. But I like to see it. I like to see Brax and doing their own thing. They're doing their own OS, because I don't know if IOTA OS is the project team is gonna stay with them for the next cycles. I heard rumors that they might not be. They did recently pushed IODE 6.9 again because they needed to do a hot fix. So yes, I have been updating. For those of you that follow me on YouTube, on my community posts, I give you relevant updates there with respects to this. I also did update. What's the other one? Oh yeah, Graphene to the latest update, but that wasn't Android 16. I'm kind of tempted to do that on my Pixel 9 Pro, but not quite there yet. If it's not even on the alpha channel, so they're not all that sure like about the stability. Of course, it's not stable. That's why it's not even the alpha channel. It's pre-alpha. But at least Graphene is trying. And last I checked, none of them had ads running on the phone. There was no bloatware. This thing's completely stripped down, and I think they run off investments from those that believe in the project or by donations. I'm not entirely sure. I'm just speculating here, but I don't want to see that project go away. Calyx OS, I like that they existed, but they've been on hold. And when it comes to Calyx OS, and let me bring myself back up to frame. So with Calyx OS, there was some years ago that if I recall, I just can't find it anymore, but I recall that they were trying to get on OEMs. They wanted a partner to do their own hardware. I don't know why that never materialized, if I'm not misremembering. But now we see GrapheneOS trying to do the same, and trying to do the same in a very competitive hardware state where everything is kind of destabilized with this whole tariff war. How can you keep prices low or convenient? And the support is not just the hardware to keep the device supported and addressing hot fixes to actual hardware, because you got to tie the OS to the hardware and then deal with any of the fallout from that if there's any issues with it, right? So it'll be interesting to see. I want to see them succeed. Okay, I want to see them succeed. I've said that repeatedly. All right, let's move on to the Brax 3 phone. Um, I'm always checking the website to see if they're ever going to launch their official store. Over here under products, it still just shows the Brax 3. And when you try to purchase one, because that's what they lead you to purchase this phone, get the Brax 3, it opens the Indiegogo page. So let me show the Indiegogo page here. And you can get the December batch of devices that are available for $339. Okay, so there is no place where I can see where they're offering for you to buy replacement cases, or the parts that were said that we can purchase. And I heard someone mentioned in my comment section on YouTube that you can't even replace the battery anymore, even though we're kind of assuming we might be able to. So that was walked back. So I don't know. I don't know about that per se. I haven't looked into it all that much. I am honestly interested in just flashing Linux to this via Ubuntu Touch. So I know that OS build is very early in beta, probably alpha, and I'm interested in that. But there are things that were promised that we didn't receive. I didn't receive my SD card. I showed grace because I do know, as a business individual and in encountering all those difficulties with tariffs and all the like, I know how difficult that can be. But there are some things that people were promised that didn't receive, and they're making it known on my comment section. But when it comes to, I guess I'll come back to this part because people were asking about refunds. I don't know. I'm not them, so we'll get to that part. But for those of you that are still interested, this is the place to get it. And like I said, and I believe it was GrapheneOS talking about Brax in their post, but I want to see more of this competition. We have Unplugged. I want to see GrapheneOS with their own phone out there because, well, it's not on these phones and people want GrapheneOS and you can't have it via Google. And honestly, I wouldn't want it on Google anyway. Their chipset is subpar. So if they can get that on an SoC Snapdragon, I'm all for it. I want to see the Google devices fly on the latest chipset. I think that would be freaking awesome. And GrapheneOS, I want to see how it's benchmarked compared to the competition. I think we will be very surprised about that. But I want to see more in this space. I haven't covered Punked as a hardware because I haven't something that was more for the European market, in my opinion. But if I get a chance to, I will cover Punked once Apostrophe is something that I really want to try out, but I'm not quite there yet. So, all right, let's keep this train moving. And for those of you that are interested in Unplugged, Unplugged is, as of now for Thanksgiving, doing $150 off the phone. So, if you guys ever wanted to save some money on the phone, I guess this is your chance. I don't think I've ever seen them do a sale like this before. They're calling it a Black Friday discount. And their partner, this has been their partner since like day one, Patriot Mobile. It looks like you can have, it'll include 1 month free of Patriot Mobile in the box. Right here, it says details included inside your unplugged phone box. So that's pretty cool. I haven't seen that before. And I'll answer some of your questions that some of you have been asking about what carriers does it work with, and I'll go through it right here in a little bit. But let me stop sharing this and now go to your comments. I don't think I'm going to share that just for efficiency purposes, that page, but let me just go over it with you all here. Okay. All right, so let me rewind back about a month. This one is a comment on my video with the CEO of Unplugged. That one says, firstly, a great interview and a very intriguing product. Question: how does Unplugged onboard ad firewall and ad blocker apps? Onboard ad firewall. Oh, okay. How does the Unplugged onboard ad firewall differ from ad blocker apps? I don't accept cookies on websites, and if the reject all process is purposely long, no traffic is given. I do this precisely because of the data privacy concerns. And then I ended up responding to this. I did respond to this comment. I said I had a guest from cybersecurity space on this week. We dive deep on how Unplugged Phone gives control over data and privacy. And that interview is dropped. That's my interview with an anonymous. He is an ethical hacker, as he says, from Cyber 4 Security. So definitely check that out because I'll let him explain it, and he explains it there. And someone else says you have to pay for it. I don't know what they mean by that because the firewall is built into the phone. That's not a subscription service. And then someone else chimes in and says it's only a few $100s less than an iPhone 17 Pro. I get what you're saying. I seen this commentary around. It looks like they're trolling. All right, don't always be trolls. I'll try not to feed the trolls, okay? But that original question was asked by TellOS V2I. Great interview. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Okay, this one comes from Rodrigo Salazar 868. This is on my Balmuda de Brew. Do you know if they make stainless steel filters so as not to drink from a plastic one? All that hot liquid in the plastic filter is definitely not the best idea. Dude, I cannot tell you how hard it has been to find something that relies on some kind of metal more than plastic, and it has been very, very difficult. And I'm talking about expensive stuff for what you would have as in the home. Yeah, no. But if Balmuda ever does that, I would love that. But hey, I will say this about Balmuda. I love their products, but they utilize a lot of plastic. I don't know what the deal with that is. So I responded and saying, sadly, no, that's the only downside to all this, that it's plastic. But I will tell you that in the 1.5 years that I had this thing, there's no warping. All the parts still fit after all that coffee being made. Fit as a fiddle. I'm impressed. Very high quality engineering, I'd say, despite it being plastic. Thanks for the quick reply, says Rodrigo. That's a bummer. Machine seems great, but I don't like the idea of plastic toxins due to hot liquids daily. I give a heart to that. Okay, next one up. Okay, I'm not gonna go through all of them, but this is kind of a sentiment for a lot of you. Okay, a privacy-oriented phone. I can't pronounce it because there's a bunch of randomized letters for the username. A privacy-oriented phone, and you activate a third-party digital assistant. This was left on my Unplugged Phone long-term review. If a lot of you are just now discovering my Unplugged coverage, that's because it's been in the news a lot in the tech space. I don't blame you. That means you might have missed the part where I've had you as a user give input to one, because I asked you, what would you like to see me test on this phone? The number one thing that I was asked was digital assistants, social media. In other words, everything that spies on you on your current phone. So I did all that for science. Does it work with smartwatches? I tested it, and I gave you all the results. And for that, I am judged. And that's okay. You don't have the context to it. That's why I clipped out a section of my interview with Anonymous. I put it out there and that got a lot of views. So go check that out because I'm like, you guys asked me. That's why I responded to that in that interview. All right, so this one's from the Brax 3 smartphone review. This is from Jaylee Bengoth. I hope I said that right. I bought one. Can you add voice to text to it so I can send text? And then the follow up question to that was, would Gboard be okay and still be private, or do you know of a better alternative? I responded and said it should be okay to use Gboard with network permissions off, but as I understand it, you'll need to give it network access in order to use voice to text. I do think this applies to all keyboards though. So I just thought I should let you guys all know about that. Great question. Great question. This one's from the original Dutch 1129 on my CEO Joe Wall interview. Excellent. I have 3 unplugged devices, each on a different carrier, and I purchased them for my entire team. We are in a security arena. The device was a perfect fit with the latest OTA drop. Migration from the big 2 device OS is much easier. Yes, it is. He's talking about the up switch, the unplugged phone switch app. Okay. Joe, nicely done. A tip of the hat to the entire Unplugged team going back to Eric's aha moment and pulled the Unplugged concept together. I tested handsets and Internet of Things devices for 10 years. Unplug is solid as a rock. Keep going on fully taking advantage of the Unplugged phone hardware feature set. I'll be gifting them again this Christmas. Wow. That is that speaks volumes there. So there you go. I give that one a heart for a very detailed comment. And this one's from a follow up to that thread. This is a threaded comment. This is Redneck82. Question for you on this then: is there a separate secure way of messaging between unplugged phones that is not available between an unplugged phone and a Samsung? Because we all know that texting isn't secure, and even Signal and WhatsApp aren't secure in Canada anymore. Um, I think I missed this one because normally the threaded comments I don't get to see like that. But that's actually a really good question because most people would go to, like, say, a WhatsApp or a Signal. Signal is supposed to be more secure than WhatsApp, but WhatsApp is not secure either. But there are other third-party messaging apps out there, BlackBerry Messenger, and technically you can use the unplugged phone messenger. It's technically available for Android. It's a little more difficult to get now because it's not directly on their website. You have to download the APK file. I'll tell Unplugged was that on purpose that they didn't put it back up there. I'm supposed to be talking to Joe pretty soon about some things behind the scenes, so I'll bring that up. I keep forgetting to bring that up because I have it and I have it installed. I think it's available on iOS too. So, but this one's asking about Samsung specifically. So the Unplug Messenger is a way to be able to do it. That's supposed to be the solution. Unplug is just not pushing it as part of their marketing right now. They're just trying to push what the phone is now with the new experience and such like that. But it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It does. Okay. Uh, Thank you, Redneck, for that comment. This is from NASA 69T79 on my answering data security and unplug questions with Anonymous. I will buy this phone. Hey, excellent. So this is one that I felt that was probably a troll, but I'm going to read it anyway. C1 Fly. That's people. This is regarding my interview with Joe Wow. That's people who reviewed and didn't like on YouTube. And does it match video as well as iPhone? I'm not spending $1,000 just for privacy. Um, okay, I'm assuming this is. It's mentioning that. How can I describe this? What I think what I'm understanding is that there's some people who reviewed it and were complaining about the camera experience to iPhone. They don't want to just spend $1,000 for privacy. They want really good cameras. I know if you don't have good cameras, your product is basically doomed. Um, but I think that you'll be satisfied with some of the stuff that I've seen in the beta that's coming out because I was very impressed with the low light with those camera setups because you can do so much with those cameras. They just really need to refine the algorithm for the camera intake. I just noticed that this thing fell. Sorry, I'm doing something different with my hair. It's gonna take some time to get to where I want it to be. But anyway, someone responded, Renegade2, then don't get it, LOL. But for some of us, privacy is worth more than a good video, LOL. Um, Okay, well, I think, but what that one didn't seem like a troll post, so just letting you know that they do want to know if they're gonna get more than just privacy, because it's not enough to just have um, spend so much on privacy if you can't use the cameras. Then what the hell's the point? You're gonna have a crappy screen that you're gonna strain your eyes to try to read. You expect it to be better. So I definitely agree. Trigger warning 5025. Running Android defeats the purpose. American spyware. This was left in the Brax 3 smartphone review. Unless you are a Linux apologetic, then I totally get it. But when that thing's running Ubuntu Touch, what will you say then? As when it comes to Android itself, I just finished talking about GrapheneOS. Okay, so that's what I meant about bringing up that comment to in response to what GrapheneOS is doing. Because if that were the case, then GrapheneOS wouldn't be talked about as one of the more secure, privacy-focused OS. Now, I mean, there is a difference between privacy and security. Okay, uh, you can have a secure device all you want, but so long if your behaviors don't change when you're on the internet and you're identifying yourself for the whole world, it defeats the purpose, because you can be secure on your phone, but you can be insecure in the internet. So we shouldn't be looking at it as just a privacy phone. Okay. Well, you gotta modify behavior online if that's what you're concerned about. Is the solution isn't just on hardware alone. Okay, this is from Blake Smith 9039 on my unplugged phone long-term review. And if it goes through a carrier, it's not private, period. And if you can't pay cash for it, it's not private, period. And quite honestly, all I could say is this, unfortunately, is true. Man, that's like you really want to hide. So a follow up by C1 Fly, who makes it with respects to the unplugged phone. They say, and I put they do. Indonesia. They're moving production to the USA. That's what I'm most excited about, folks. That's what you want to see. This is from Brazil 7028 on my unplugged phone long-term review. Has the unplugged phone problem with Verizon been fixed? I have Verizon and live away out in the country, so none of the other service providers really work in my area. And I responded, sadly, no, but they are working on getting it to work with Verizon. And then Brazil responds, yeah, I saw something on their website, but that was almost a year ago. Yeah, so let me put it this way. Uh, as someone that actually been to the headquarters of Verizon, I was invited by them before they launched their 5G, and I have friends. I spoke to the engineers, and I have friends that worked at Verizon. They can. They just make it really, really difficult. So with Verizon 4G, most people will say it's slower than the competitors on the same bandwidth per se, 4G LTE. Okay, the fact of the matter is that Verizon has the most traffic. So most traffic, you can have as wide as a freeway as you can, but if you got 405 freeway like traffic on it, then it's gonna be slow. So that's what happens with Verizon that people complain about. It's like, oh man, I could definitely get better speeds on AT&T or T-Mobile or some other MVNO. While that may be true, and while they can claim that they have network coverage here or there, the most reliable network coverage remains Verizon. And I've been to the most rural parts of this country to tell you that's the case. And I carried a T-Mobile device with my Verizon, so I can definitely tell you when T-Mobile cut off at the time and say, "Oh, well, that was a few years ago." Yeah, I know they're improving, but that doesn't change the fact that Verizon still leads. That's why those of us that care about using an unplugged phone on Verizon, that's why. Yes, you can get faster speeds than the competitors, but what you find lacking is reliability. And even here in Southern California, in San Diego County, Riverside County, Los Angeles, Orange County, you're still going to run into that issue where Verizon beats out anyone else because you can't get coverage on it. I know it's because of property inspections that we do for business. So that's why we rely on Verizon. So some of you tell me, well, just leave Verizon. Easy for you to say, especially when my business runs on it. We run on it for a reason. And I've had sweetheart deals from T-Mobile and AT&T. And I always turn them down because they don't work where I need them to work. So we sacrifice speed for reliability, pretty much. All right, I won't be able to get through a lot of these questions. Man, this is a lot of good stuff, folks. A lot of good stuff. Another one on a different unplugged phone. This from Blake Smith 9039. Yeah, but if you have to give your name in any way to buy, it is pointless. Again, that's correct. Uh, this is from Benny W1. This is, oh yes, this is from my Heat, a deep dive retrospective. and he comments. So I have a critic corner. So it's like a movie thing that I do. I don't do it as often. I don't have that much time, but I do it with a co-host, my buddy Travis Barnes. He's more of a cinephile than I am, and that's saying something. So he and I bond over the movie Heat. This is like we can talk days about Heat, and we finally got around to doing an episode just on Heat. It's like 2 hours long. So I published it a long time ago, but I then remastered it recently. So I recommend you check the remastered one out. It gets copyrighted. That's why you probably don't see it on your feed. But Benny W1. This should have way more views. 3 years, YouTube must be using the 30-second rule. Yeah, they are. If you know, you know. So I responded, yes, thank you. YouTube copyright claimed this one. I recently remastered it with improved audio and better visuals, and I gave the link to which the user ended up finding the video to support it and was watching through there. So my William Hall full interview post, faith, upbringing, and politics. William Hall himself chimes in saying, "Thanks for having me on. This was a fun interview. Thank you so much." I never published the full interview that I did with him. That was years ago. So that was the first time anybody was seeing it on YouTube. So and anywhere else for that matter. So I recommend you check that out. This is from my stream of answering questions and data, and I had guest anonymous with me. Josue Nearest, amazing video and amazing info. Thank you very much. This one's from I'm Average Joe. Yeah, you're on it. You follow me on Instagram. I know you. I'm curious whether or not unplugged phones are going to partner with privacy phone service providers like Ifami, Really Wireless, etc. I'm getting sick of major phone service providers doing the same crap with selling data like Apple and Google. That is true. That's why Joe, in my interview, said they partner with Pond Wireless, and I think that's just data. That everything runs on LTE. Okay. But yeah, it's true. Yeah, there's people that pissed off. This is a. I did a stream where at the very end I responded to these questions about Taiwan because I did an interview with Joshua Phillip from Epoch Times. He hosts Crossroads, not crosswords, and I ended up having to address some questions because I ruffled feathers when I said that Taiwan is an independent sovereign country. So I addressed it in its own clip out from a stream that I did called Taiwan is part of China, addressing the ambiguity. So I break down the perspectives, how CCP views it versus how Taiwanese view it. So a user, Juhad Excelsior says Taiwan always has been and always will be Chinese territory. Period. Full stop. Well, Taiwanese disagree with you. So that's why I'm just putting it out there. The CCP can claim it all they want. They never ruled it. That's why, if it's yours, why do you got to invade it? I'm just saying. If anyone has any issues with what Russia is doing with Ukraine, you're going to have issues with the CCP trying to do with Taiwan. If you don't have any issues with that, then that means you're on the other side of the argument. And, well, that's what the defenses are for. Just throwing it out there. I don't know if I'm coming up at the end of the question. Oh my goodness, there's still so many to go. That's where I'll leave the questions. I got so many. Oh my goodness, wow. There is one tech question that I know was here, so I'm gonna find that one. Here's a Benny W. Watching this, I am alone, but I'm not lonely. I gave that one a heart because it's a direct quote from Macaulay in Heat, 1995. A deep dive retrospective redux. Recommend you guys check it out. But someone asked me with respects to the Samsung Galaxy Book 5 Pro 360 unboxing impressions. This comes from An Sunku. So the question was, real good review. It wasn't a review, but thank you. It was an unboxing. One question: if I use it in tablet mode, which vent will be used? Will it damage the display? I just so happen to have it with me. So this is a massive computer. Okay, let me just bring it to frame. Okay, so when you look at the bottom, these are supposedly speaker grills because AKG tuned speakers. The vent is in the back. So when you do the 360 for tablet mode, as they call it, flip it all the way around. The display is here away from the vents right there. So the vents will still be kind of pushing towards the back of the frame, but I don't see it as a threat to the display. You look at that, because the vent's right here, right there. So I don't see it as a threat to the screen. I think that was the issue with other ones in the previous generations because the vents, these were not speakers, they were vents, and the screen would be right on it. So I think that was detrimental to the hardware. But yeah, well, some of them were fanless. So yeah. But anyway, uh, because of my earlier recording session, I'm going to give a shout out once again um, to Dave Yates' awesome hot sauce. Go get yours at hahahotsauce.com. For those of you that are interested in checking out comedy, if you're not offended easily, then check out his comedy, Dave Yates Comedy, and follow him across the socials. I'll be leaving links to that as well. So stay tuned for my interview with him. But for everybody else, thank you so very much. I can't finish the comments today. There's so many different things, but I'm going to try to work on that review and get out to you ASAP before December, hopefully. There's still a few days after November. I appreciate all of you. It's next year might look a little different when it comes to live streaming, but I don't want to neglect or leave anybody behind. So that's why you're following me. By all means, make sure you're checking out the posts. 'Cause I do post a lot there across the socials. I'm just across about everything at the Andres Segovia on X_Andres Segovia. And just as I showed earlier, there's different platforms that pick up the slack that others don't. So sometimes YouTube is my number one when it comes to tech. Or sometimes Rumble will pick up the slack on my interviews, or in like the case of X, there's people like that kind of content, but I try to put it everywhere as possible. And the algorithm doesn't like that. But to each their own. I appreciate you all just the same, whether it's my thousands of followers on YouTube or my handful across, say, Substack. I value you equally. Thank you so very much for tuning into this episode of the Andres Segovia Show, pre-recorded live stream. In case I can't do one before the year is done, I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'm sure I'm going to be doing more content out there, but just in case, because tomorrow is not guaranteed, I just want you to know that I've appreciated you this year for being a part of the journey. You made this all happen, and I couldn't do it without you. Thank you, and I'll see you hopefully in the next one.